Selling 3D assets, especially 3D models, has been around for years, but one practice that led many 3D artists to leave the market is undercutting and selling for ridiculously low prices. You might think this is not a problem, but there are some ramifications that you need to know about if you are a 3D model seller or if you intend to join this market. Before we continue, let me tell you about Renderhub. Renderhub is one of the best platforms for 3D assets out there. From high quality and fully textured 3D models to characters, cards, and everything else in between. Spanning a long list of every major category like people, animals, food, interior design, environments, and much more. So if it is art related, you can probably find it here. There are also a ton of 3D printing ready models, if you are into that field. And Renderhub is not just a storefront. It is also a perfect place if you want to sell your creations. It is super intuitive, and it provides you with all the tools you need to organize, keep track of your sales, create coupons and discounts, in addition to other stuff. Not to forget that Renderhub is a great learning platform, and they host 3D competitions regularly. So if you want to join a thriving community, learn, sell, and participate in great challenges, you can click the link in the description down below. Now back to the video. Understanding the origin behind this practice is a bit like finding a needle in a haystack. Undercutting is the process of intentionally setting a lower price for your products than your competitors, compared to your competitors. This tactic is commonly used to gain market exposure and attract customers with a limited budget. After all, why would you choose the more expensive 3D model when you can go for a cheaper one? You may not make the amount of money you want, but at least you would make some, right? Well, it's not as simple as that, because according to Avis Astics, a freelance 3D artist in an interview he gave to AD Level, if something isn't selling, it might be worth lowering the price and seeing the result, but I often observe that lowering the price doesn't increase the sales. Me personally, I have been in the market of selling 3D models for years, and I can tell you, a lot of 3D artists fall for this trap of lowering prices and undercutting. Probably they think they will sell more, but I would say it is not very effective. Because I think a better approach is to target professionals like game developers and VFX studios who really need high quality assets. And while that's the general reason behind it, there are also other cases where some 3D artists simply do not know what price tag to slap on their 3D assets, or they do this due to lack of confidence in their models generating sales. Besides, sellers who live in countries where the cost of living is much cheaper could also take advantage of this and lower the prices to get what they would consider to be a competitive advantage, but at what cost? Now, the unfortunate reality of undercutting the prices of 3D assets is that it had a serious impact on the artist's ability to make a living in the market, especially since the phenomenon of lowering prices and undercutting kind of became ridiculous. The problem now is, after extensive years of this practice, it became the norm. So clients became used to these cheap 3D assets. And while some niches continue to offer decent and respectful assets for good prices, generally speaking, if we take for example sci-fi assets, we can find fully rigged, textured, and optimized high-quality characters for $30, $20 or less. And that's not even considering the royalty fees. So the countless hours spent in front of the computer and the expensive 3D software, it is really hard to break even unless you're not really hoping to generate some sales or make a living through it. Is gonna be a problem. Just like how this 3D artist said, I don't think it is worth the effort financially unless you really enjoy making models. I mean, there are some really high quality assets out there already for not much money, so that's a hard market to compete in. Based on that, it's easy to assume that clients are the biggest winners in all of this, and while I would argue that they have less to lose, since after all, they got to keep money in their pockets, but I feel like in the meantime, the market lost a lot of creativity in the process too. But why is that? Well, the thing is, many artists nowadays can't produce or no longer produce creative or highly detailed models as it used to be in the past, because they think it is not profitable. Instead, they just focus on uploading a big number of assets, average assets, so they kind of play a numbers game. Of course, this doesn't mean that everyone is doing this, but I'm just saying. From a client's perspective, I feel like this resulted in a saturated market without a lot of good quality assets to pick from. Just like how CG Digest, a 3D bestseller, said, the most important advice I have for everybody who want to make money through selling 3D models is to be original and think outside of the box. I say this because every day I see people copying models that already exist and price them lower, expecting to make millions overnight. And the only thing that they are gonna accomplish is devalue the industry. And I personally think this is a problem. What this phenomenon could lead to is the depreciation of this art form itself. I don't know about you, but personally, I take a lot of pride in 3D art and I deeply want it to be respected. Because we can't deny that making 3D assets is a hard process. For some because it is complicated, and for others because it takes a lot of time. But when it comes to clients, they may not always be experts like we expect them to be, and they may not fully appreciate the effort involved. But I would say in a lot of cases, you should be afraid that the client is more experienced than you, especially game developers and VFX artists. I'm just saying, because they can quickly see through the quality if it is not that great. For a lot of inexperienced 3D modelers, the only way they could judge its value is through the price. In marketing, this is also known as customer perceived value. It's essentially how a potential customer decides if a product is worth it by looking at what it offers and how much it costs compared to similar products. Therefore, when an asset is priced at a higher price, there is an expectation of a certain level of quality associated with that price. But if the price is too low, drastically low compared to others, it can lead to a perception of lower quality, so you need to keep that in mind. The current question is, how can we change that? Or is the market already a sinking ship? Well, what if I told you there is nothing that needs to be changed? But hold on, let me elaborate on that first. While there are a few solutions that we can come across, such as introducing a price suggestion feature on websites or agreeing on raising awareness in the community, I would say that before changing any of that, I believe it is important first to change mentalities and for the artists to learn how to price their assets correctly, for the sake of their income and their craft, and for the sake of the industry as a whole. Just like how this 3D artist commented, I have had a discussion in the past with someone who was totally depriving himself of earning something from his hard work. He just gave complete environments away almost for free. He was basically convinced there was a huge hobbyist consumer market and that's what he was serving. But how do you convince them? Anyways, everybody is free to do what they believe is best. Me personally, I think giving really good quality assets for free is better than selling them for extremely cheap prices. And based on this, I believe the best solution is not changing anything and just focusing on yourself. Because here's the trick. Many artists out there have the impression that 3D assets are not in high demand and they can't sell them unless they undercut others in the market. However, this is far from the truth, because if you focus on creating high quality assets, you can easily find buyers for that price and for that particular quality. Think of AAA game development studios, VFX studios, and many companies that need high quality assets. And the good news is they have the money. So even if you price it at a higher price, they don't see it as a problem. Because if they create it inside a studio, it will cost them much more. A lot more. So I hope you guys found this video useful and informative. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. You can also leave a comment down below to let us know what you think. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.